Hello everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the series of me learning to become a producer. Now, my name is Alfie Appleyard. I'm a rapper. I've been making music for about 2.5 years, and up until now, I've just been using beats from YouTube. But I'd really like to start being able to use my own beats. So I thought, what better way than starting a bit of a series, just sort of to hold myself accountable, make sure that I'm doing things regularly, and then I can document it and put it up. And anyone who's also learning to make beats and is at the same stage I'm at, they can sort of follow along with me. Or, maybe in like a year or two's time, I'll be a really good producer. And then people can come back to this video and see where I started from and see that it's possible to start. Because everyone's got to start somewhere. And this is where I'm starting now. Just for a little bit of background, I'm currently 21 years old. When I was about, I want to say 11, I did like a year of piano lessons and I got quite decent at it. But then I forgot a lot of it since then. But I feel like that's going to play a bit of a part of having that sort of in the back of my head, a bit of muscle memory. And I've always been quite a musical person, so a lot of this I get. But also, other than that, I'm pretty much at ground zero in terms of things like chord theory, music theory, things like that. Off camera, I'm also teaching myself piano. Again, I used to know, I'm sort of relearning it. And I'm not going to be doing that on camera, but when that feels applicable to what I'm doing in here, I'm sure that'll fold in. I'll quickly show you now what I've taught myself over the past couple of days, but I'll show you I learned these 4 chords. I believe this is C major, then A, no, it's not an A major, F major, yeah, F major, then a G major, then an A minor. I know the chords. I need to remind myself the actual names of them. But for this series, I saw a series by someone called Monkey Dre, who was just following this course. There's another YouTuber called Kyle Beats, a very big YouTuber, and he's got this it's free, so you can sign up for it yourself, a free course, 7-day course, teaching about the basics of production. And this guy, Monkey Dre, was sort of going through it every day and doing it every day. And I thought that would be a really good idea. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So you can all just sort of follow along with me. And I'll put a link to this course in the description. You can all follow along. But I'm just going to be going through these emails. But yeah, so I'm just going to follow along with each email. There's 7 emails. And hopefully by the end of those 7 emails, we'll have a decent beat that may be usable. But, that's not where the series is going to end. I'm not doing the 7 things and finishing it there. This is just how I'm starting the series off. And I'm just going to sort of document going forward my learning process. And the goal of this series is mostly just to sort of hold myself accountable and make sure that I'm regularly practicing, regularly learning new things. That's why I'm recording it, because there's a bit of a deadline there for me to edit it and put it out, and other people might see it. And it just adds a bit more pressure to make sure that I'm actually doing it and learning it, and not just sort of, I can't be bothered, I'll do it in a bit. No, I need to do it now. So that's why I'm documenting this. But of course, anyone that finds this video and finds it helpful and likes following along, or in a year's time, maybe I'm a really good producer, and then they can come back and see the point that I started at and see that it's possible and see that everyone starts somewhere. And this is where I'm starting now. And I will say that none of this is really scripted for or prepared for. I'm sort of doing a lot of this off the cuff. I could set up a nicer camera and a nicer mic and things like that, but I quite like the sort of low budget feel that this video is going to have. And yeah, there's no script in front of me. I'm just sort of saying this off the cuff. So you're going to have to forgive any sort of kinks that need to be worked out over the first few episodes. But hopefully this is all going to turn out really good and be a good first episode to the series. So let's get on with it. So the first email you can see here is about making melodies. And I've been through this email before. And I've been sort of teaching myself this type of stuff on and off for the past couple of weeks. So this email will, I think, feel a little bit basic for me, but I'm going to follow it anyway, because it'll be good for the series. It'll be good for you guys to see. So yeah, starting making melodies. I'm going to have a read through this now, and I'm going to get on with what the email says, and I'll bring you guys along with me. So you can see here in the email, the first thing he talks about is laying down some root notes. So, it's going to take 4 bars and go note, 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 in sort of whatever configuration I think sounds the nicest. So I've laid one down here just on a C. I don't know the most, like I said, I don't know the most chord theory or anything like that yet. So I'm just going to go for something quite basic of what sounds nice. So you sort of just lay things down until it sounds nice to your ear. That doesn't sound quite right, but I might not have an ear for it yet. I may end up saying something sounds nice and it sounds terrible. That sounds good to me, considering it's just the first 4 actual root notes. But then he speaks about, you can turn them into minor chords or major chords. And the difference between those is, you can see a minor chord incorporates the black keys into it. A major chord, which is what I've been teaching myself so far, externally on the piano, is, you do a white note, and then you skip a white note, then you do the next white note, then you skip a white note and do the next white note, where clearly a black key gets incorporated on building up a minor chord. I think I'm going to go with a minor since that's what he says there. But also, yeah, you can see, the black and the blue lines on here, line. You can sort of consider those. So for making a chord, like I said, take a minor chord, you'd skip, not including the initial one. You go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can play it. That sounds really weird. Okay, we'll go for a major. We'll go for a major because that sounds much better to me. So yeah, you can see there's a 3 gap, then a 2 gap. 1, 2. Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Okay, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We'll go. Then we want to come down, so we'll go. That sounds weird. So maybe let's turn this one. Maybe it needs to go lower. There, that's what I was looking for. They're all major keys right now. So you can see there's a 3 and then a 2. 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2. And I really hate when I'm watching a tutorial and they'll say, oh, I'll change this little thing. And then they change like 5 things then in between cuts. And I'm like, well, I can't follow along with this now. So I'm going to hopefully try my very best to explain everything. But I'm new at making tutorials. So you're going to have to forgive me. But I think I'm going to try and change one of them into being a minor maybe, because it might just spice things up a little bit. It's a bit sinister. I'll just leave them all as majors. I think I'm going to leave them all as major keys, actually. All right, so the next thing the email's talking about is, there is a word for them, but it doesn't seem to say it here, and I can't remember off the top of my head. But you can see he's adding these notes at the top. It sort of just spices it up, and it adds a little bit more depth to it, so it's not just dun, dun, dun. It's got a bit more to it. But basically, I'm just going to go through and do what he's done here, add some notes on top, and, there'll be shorter notes, and they'll sort of add a bit more speed, I guess, to the melody itself. All right, so you can see here now, I've added a couple of things. I've added like a lower bit of a bass line to it. We're doing it in C5 to C6. So I just added the root notes going on C4 and D sharp and things like that, just to add a bit more depth and a bit more bass to it. And you can also see that I've added, there were counter notes was the word I was looking for. And you can see I've added some counter notes more towards the top. Some very basic stuff, because he says in the email that it takes a bit of a while to get an ear for doing this type of thing, and I agree. So I've added some basic stuff in here. Like you can see, I've sliced it up here, added some more notes. So I'll let you hear what I've got now. I don't intend to keep this melody in FL keys, and I think because I'm building it now, I'm going to want to be able to hear the actual instrument that I'm going to be using in the melody so that I can build it off that, instead of building it off FL keys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it now. I quite like a lot of the stuff in Flex, and I've heard that that's like a really good bit of a bank for starter musicians, before you have all the best plugins. I've been told this is a very good one. And, it's got all these packs here I got for free just from the store. It's all these ones. So I'm going to have a look through here and see what sounds cool. All right, so I've had a look through some of this. I haven't gone through it all because there's so many, but at this stage, at least, an instrument I really like making beats with is electric pianos. I think this sounds really good. This electric piano Bright. I haven't done any adjustments to any of the keys here or anything like that. I'm just going to use this. This is how it sounds now. So I've just had a look. That is the end of the email, pretty much. It's just talking about making a melody and things like this. Like I said, it is quite basic, at least the first day. But I am now going to take this and I'm going to try and make a beat from it. And you know, I've made a couple beats so far, and I find it's really nice to just layer a bunch of things together. So I'm gonna have a look through again. I find, in my personal opinion, from what I've seen so far, Flex and Soar. Is it Soar? Yeah, it's gonna be Soar. Those two are my favorite things to take from right now. So I'm gonna have a look through here, see what other sort of things I can find, and we'll get making something. All right, so I found something I quite like in Sawyer. I'm hoping I'm saying that Sawyer. Sawyer. Yeah, I found something I like in there. Like I said, I like to layer things, and I feel like this electric piano bright that we have so far, that's good for like a bit of like maybe the center of the melody. But I feel like I want some stuff on top that's got a bit more of a hit to it, and a bit more ear catching, a bit more, I guess like ear candy. All right, so I've laid down a couple notes. These are pretty much just random. I've been following the main chords that we've built on the other instrument. Just make sure it's all in key with each other. You could probably eventually do some more sort of extravagant, maybe more riskier stuff, but I've decided to just follow those for now because I know that's a safe margin to work within. I found this sound on Sawyer. I keep calling it Sawyer. What is it? Sawyer. I'm going to just call it Sawyer. I think that's probably wrong. I'm just going to call it that. I found this sound on there that I thought was quite interesting. So you can see I've just chopped it up and laid it over top, and this is how it sounds. And, you know, I've not done any adjustments to the sound. This is trigger finger from the keys. This stuff, I think it all comes with it. You know, I didn't download anything extra. So I think these presets come with it. And that just sort of gives what I'm saying. It's just got a bit more oomph. This electric piano is quite chordy, whereas now I want sort of more quicker stuff to just make it more interesting to the ear. But I'm probably not done there. I think I'm going to have a look through these things again and see if there's anything else that I can add. This might not end up doing anything, but I think I want to try and add a bit more depth to it. So I've got another thing in Sawyer called Vintage Vocal, and I'm going to get a piano roll going on here. And you can just go up here, piano roll, click that, and then go to that one. That's something I found that's a lot quicker, that helps me. But here's the sound. Just maybe for a bit of something, maybe put it on here. This is something I'm currently trying to figure out, if there's a quicker way for me to isolate this sound rather than turning all these off. But I still do want to find some more sort of counter notes and more leady type things that'll just add a bit more interest to it. I quite like this. It's Monster Kick. I think that'll just be quite interesting. I'll probably make it quieter than the rest of the stuff. Actually, yeah, I've decided I'm going to scrap that 80s bass. Yeah, that'll be cool. Let's put that 80s bass in, because I think it needs a bit more bass. Yeah, that gives like a bit of like an adventure vibe to it or something. Something's clashing here. I think maybe it's because... Yeah, that's not better. I think it was just too much going on. That sounds a lot better. Alright. So now I think we're going to add some drums in. Something that I try and remember to do is, you know, we've got this melody is pattern 1. I don't know how essential this is. I don't know how much everyone else does it, but I think it's probably just a good habit to get into. Is if I now rename this as just melody. So now I've got a melody and I can click and scroll. I've got pattern 2 and I can just rename, and you can recolor it, and maybe I should, but I don't usually do that. You can put drums in there. So now I can come, you know, I've got tons of drums on the side here. I've got a drum kit here. It's not a drum kit, it's just, if I hear a song that I like, you know, on Spotify, and it's got like a break in the melody where it's only drums, I'll often take that and just cut that up and take the drums from there. Like I've got a Metro Boomin one. But I often find if I go into like kicks, I really like really nice clean drums. I find a lot of the time the kicks, they're just a bit nothingy, really, compared to if I go in my sample drums, like something like that, or it's just got something to it, it's got an oomph to it, which I find that some of those other Metro Boomin type drums just don't. personally. So I'm going to take this kick. This is one of my favorite kicks to use. First, we need a hat. So I'm gonna try, and just for the sake of mixing things up, I'm gonna try and take from all over. So let's go. Kyle Beats, the guy who does that email thread. He's also got, you know, tons of free packs. If I'll go into here and I'll go. Does he have? Yeah, he has hats. Okay, might be good to as well play. I'll bring the melody into the playlist, and then I can just sort of cycle through these and just see what. Obviously, it's not mixed, so the volume might not necessarily matter yet, but I can just sort of hear what goes with it. Yeah, so I think this hi-hat reload, that goes quite well with it. Fill 2 steps, 4 steps. Let's hear it. Yeah, I'm gonna want it to be 2 steps. So yeah, I want to have it last the 4 bars. So, you know, 4 there, 4 there, 4 there, and then drag it out 2 more there. So then I could just go back on here, fill each 2 steps. Cool. And you know, we're gonna add some hi-hat rolls and things like that later. I'm just getting in like a basic drum pattern. So we've got this kick that I said I like. Let me hear it. So this is the kick that I've gone with. And then I'm also gonna get, you know, a snare so that I can do those together. I find it good doing those together. So again, I don't want to take from too many of the same places. So I'll come out of my sample drums. Okay, I found a snare. So I'll bring that in. If I wanted to, I could just do a pattern like this. There. You know, but that's quite a basic, and that would still work. You know, you can hear it here. But that's very sort of slow, and I like to have tons of different kicks going in on and stuff like that. So if I go back to pattern. All right, so this is what I've come up with. You can hear it's just got a lot more going on in it. I really like having like a couple kicks go and then a snare. So this is what I've come up with. And this is what it sounds like with the melody. Obviously, bear in mind, none of this is mixed yet. None of this has had any gain staging, which is basically, as far as I know, is just sort of turning the volume up and down on things. And then, you know, the mixing is actually doing, you know, taking out the low end, doing different things with the frequency, which I know nothing about. I know basically nothing about mixing, but I know about gain staging. It's just volume and stuff. So I'm not going to be doing any mixing today because I know that's a later stage in the series, the email series that we're following. I'm going to do some gain staging, and I'm going to try and make it sound as good as I can to my skill level now. But we're not done there with the drums because, you know, there's so many different things you can add. I like adding some open hats. It's like a tss, and that, if you put that in subtly, that just adds a bit of volume to it. You know, I really want to just sort of add some volume, add some size to these drums by just adding tons of different stuff. Although, an issue you'll hear now, if I go on pattern, you hear it's looping on its own. You can go into, you know, just sort of click on this, or just click like that, and then use loop points, turn that off, and it doesn't go anymore. You know, like I said, I don't want to overdo it, but there's other stuff you can add in here, like whatever that is. If you want to add that, you knock yourself out. Or a little, like, it's a bit of a shaker, this one, clearly. And again, don't worry about like the volume of these things yet. That'll come a bit later on. Let's just hear how they sound together. But yeah, I think that's quite a decent little drum pattern there. So you can see here, hi-hats, you can see it's just an evenly spaced pattern. And if again, this is where I want to find out how I can just like isolate this. Can I solo? Okay, and then I can, happy days. That's something new that I've learned here today, and you can all learn as well. So I can solo this, and then you can, it's just an even thing. And you can see at the bottom, there's velocity, and there's other things you can control here. I'm not going to bother with those yet, but velocity, you know, it's just sort of how hard it hits. So if I bring it up, hear that second one. or if I bring it down, it's kind of like volume, but it's not exactly volume. It's just like how hard it's being hit. And obviously, if you're hitting something softly, it's going to be quieter. But it's good to sort of just go through and vary these a little bit, because it's not going to be, if you imagine like a real drum kit, it's not going to be perfect every single time, and that just adds a bit. It makes it feel a bit more natural if you just come through and sort of just change the velocity on these a little bit. And lower obviously means less velocity, higher means more. It's a very subtle thing, but it definitely adds to it. And then you can see we've got our 808s here, or our hi-hat, sorry, here. I'm going to listen through and I'm going to think where I could picture our hi-hat roll going. Right there. If you do Option U, it'll bring up this thing as chopper. And you can use this here to choose how many. I'll make these bigger. So you can choose. Okay, I need to come out first. But you can choose how how many hats are in this thing. Or I can do more. Or I can do less. I usually just tend to stick at about 4. I think that's quite good. And then you don't want to overdo it. I'm sure as time goes on, in more complicated beats, I've done more complicated beats than this before, and you would do more complicated hi-hat roll patterns and things like that. But for this one, that's good enough for me. Now, to some people listening, that beat's probably booty cheeks, but to me, I think that's quite good. So now, what would be best to do? I'm gonna mix it, and then we'll do the what's the word? We'll assemble the beat. So if I go into this, the mixer, and actually no, we need to go into the channel rack, and you can see there's these numbers here, 1, 2, 3, and you can see it's changing things down at the bottom. If you look down at the bottom, so I'm just gonna assign each of these to a number. And actually, so I've done the 4 things of the melody. Then I'm going to skip one and I'm going to go to 6. And I'll explain why in a second. If I go, no, just 10. And 12. Oh, no, no. 12. It's a very sensitive thing. But if I go 12, so I left out number 5. So if I press play now, you can see everything coming through. You can see, the levels firing and stuff. Sorry, I just noticed how dark it got in here, so I just turned my light on. Like I said, you're going to have to forgive sort of things like that, because this is the first time doing this. So hopefully over time, we'll get a really nice series going. But for now, you're going to have to just sort of forgive stuff like that. Now is when I can do some gain staging and turn some stuff up and down, put some effects on things. Or, you can do it in here, and sometimes it may be easier to do it in here because you can see the name. Obviously, I'm sure you can name these, but I'm not the type of person that organizes things or that names things. Which is good. These are already labeled for me, so I don't need to do that. What I consider to be the main drums are the hi-hat, the kick, and the snare. Or like sometimes I would use a clap instead of a snare, and that those are the 3. They're the big 3. And then the other stuff is sort of just accents to it. So now we can go and start arranging the beat. So delete both of these, and then what I would do is left click, right click, whichever one it is, split by channel, drag it into the playlist, and you can see we've got each individual. So now we can start just sort of choosing what we want in each section of the beat. So if I just delete these for now, and start just with and you can do Command B, and that'll just duplicate whatever you selected. Just duplicate it. And I wish I knew how to fade things, but I don't know how to do that yet. But if I learned everything in episode 1, it'd be a boring series. Tough. All right, so basically I'm just like a world famous producer already, because that's so fire. That was so fire. But yeah, I believe that's it for today's episode, guys. I've had fun. I hope you've had fun. I feel like I've warmed into doing the series as we've gone along. At first, I was probably a bit awkward, but we got there in the end. So I want to thank you all for coming and watching this video today. I'm going to promo this a little bit on my Instagram, but I'm not too bothered about viewership for this, at least not early on. Like I said, the main goal of this series is to hold myself accountable, and to make sure that I just stood on a thorn. I've somehow got a thorn on the floor. The whole point of this series really is just keep myself accountable, make sure that just to sort of add a bit more pressure to me doing some production, learning some stuff. And I wanted to get some basic stuff out of the way because I didn't want to start episode 1 onto some, I'm not advanced at all in beat making, but I am more advanced than what we've done today. But I didn't want to start. I wanted to go from day one. So we've done this today. Tomorrow we'll follow the next email. And by tomorrow, I mean tomorrow for me. I don't know if I'll upload it tomorrow. Because, I do have a life. I do have a job. So I might not be able to do one every day. So there's not going to be any planned release schedule for this. It's just going to be whenever I can make something and release something. But I'm hoping for it to be a lot more frequent now because I'm doing a series of it and stuff. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. And I hope like I said earlier, if in a year's time I'm an amazing producer and you come back and you see this is where I've started from, and you can start from here as well. It's never too late to start something. It's never too late to start doing music. It's never too late to start doing whatever you want. So go for it. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.